6 hours passed like a nightmare that would not end. Hyunwoo Kim stood in the embassy's command center, watching the tactical display with growing despair. Red dots showed Vorthon forces moving closer to the capital city. Blue dots showed the pathetically small Federation defense positions that were being overrun one by one. "Sir, the Vorthons are 2 hours out from the capital," reported Tae-min Lee. The young communications officer had not slept in over 20 hours, but his hands remained steady on his controls. "They're moving faster than we expected." Sora Park looked up from her medical station where she was preparing emergency supplies. "The evacuation transports are loaded. 50,000 people are ready to leave, but..." She did not finish the sentence. Everyone knew that meant nearly 12 million people would be left behind. Captain Dalsu Choi entered the command center with dirt and blood on his uniform. "The outer defense lines have collapsed. My people fought hard, but our weapons barely scratched their ships. It was like fighting ghosts." Hyunwoo nodded grimly. The Vorthon ships used some kind of energy shielding that made them nearly impossible to damage with Federation weapons. Their own weapons, however, turned Federation ships into scrap metal in seconds. "Any word from Earth?" Dalsu asked. "Nothing since their first message," Tae-min replied. "They should be here soon, but I don't know what they can do with whatever small ships they have." Through the windows, they could see streams of people fleeing through the streets. Families carried whatever they could grab. Children cried for parents, and everyone looked up at the sky with fear. In the distance, columns of black smoke rose from burning settlements. "Long-range sensors are picking up something," Tae-min said suddenly. "Hyperspace signatures, multiple contacts. The Earth ships?" Sora asked hopefully. "I think so. But the signatures are strange. Very large." Hyunwoo frowned. Earth ships were supposed to be small cargo vessels and mining ships. Why would their hyperspace signatures be large? "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The display showed empty space at the edge of the star system. Then reality seemed to tear apart as ships began dropping out of hyperspace. The first ship appeared, and Hyunwoo's breath caught in his throat. It was enormous. Easily 3 times the size of the largest Federation battleship he had ever seen. Its hull was dark gray metal covered in weapon emplacements that looked nothing like Federation designs. Strange symbols were painted on its sides in bright white. Then a second ship appeared. Then 10 more. Then 50. Then hundreds. "How many ships is that?" Dalsu whispered. Taemin's voice was barely audible. 847 ships, sir. And they're all warships." The display showed Earth's fleet arranging itself in perfect formation. The ships moved with military precision that the Federation Navy would have envied. At the center were massive dreadnoughts bristling with weapons. Around them were sleek cruisers and destroyers. And everywhere, smaller ships that looked designed for one purpose only: war. "This can't be right," Dalsu said. "Earth doesn't have a fleet like this." Federation intelligence said they were farmers. Federation intelligence was wrong, Hyunwoo said quietly. A new communication came through all frequencies. The voice was calm, professional, and completely confident. "This is Admiral Jin-Ho Choi of the Earth Systems Alliance 7th Fleet. We received your distress call and have responded with full force authorization. Colony representatives, please respond." Tae-min looked at Hyunwoo, who nodded. "This is Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim of the Federation Embassy. Admiral, we have 12 million civilians under attack by Vorthon forces. We desperately need evacuation assistance." "Understood, Ambassador. We are transmitting landing zone coordinates to your systems now. You have 43 minutes to move all civilians to those positions." 43 minutes? Sora asked. "That's impossible. It would take hours to move that many people." "Admiral," Hyunwoo said carefully, "we cannot evacuate 12 million people in 43 minutes. You will not need to evacuate them, Ambassador. You need to move them away from military targets. The Vorthon fleet will not be a problem after we engage them." Dalsu laughed bitterly. "Admiral, the Vorthons have over 200 warships. They've destroyed everything the Federation sent against them." "We are aware of Vorthon capabilities," came the calm reply. "They are not impressive." Before anyone could respond, another voice cut through the communications. It was Commander Vexhai of the Vorthon fleet. "So, the Earth primitives have arrived. How many cargo ships did you bring, humans? Will you load your people into mining vessels and run away like cowards?" "Vorthon Commander," Admiral Jin-Ho replied in the same calm tone. "You have 43 minutes to withdraw from this system. This is your only warning." Vexhai's laughter filled the communication channels. "Warning? You dare threaten the Vorthan Empire with your collection of farming ships? I have 200 battlecruisers, human. Each one could destroy your entire pathetic fleet. I have 847 warships, Admiral Jin-Ho replied. Each one has been designed specifically for killing things like you. The communication went dead. On the tactical display, they could see the Vorthan fleet changing course. Instead of heading for the colony, they were moving to intercept the Earth fleet. They're going to fight, Dalsu said in amazement. The Earth ships will be slaughtered, Sora said sadly. They came to help us and they're going to die. Hyunwoo was not so sure. Something about Admiral Jin-Ho's voice suggested a man who knew exactly what he was doing. And those ships, they looked nothing like the peaceful cargo vessels Federation intelligence had described. Sir, Taemin called out, the Vorthons are launching their attack. 50 ships are breaking off from the main fleet and charging the Earth formation. On the display, they watched 50 Vorthan battlecruisers race toward the Earth fleet at maximum speed. The Vorthon ships were fast and deadly, their weapons already charging for the attack that had destroyed so many Federation vessels. The Earth fleet did not move. 800 ships hung motionless in space, waiting. Why aren't they maneuvering? Dalsu asked. The Vorthons will tear them apart if they just sit there. Maybe they don't know how to fight, Sora suggested, but Hyunwoo was studying the Earth formation. It was not random. Every ship was positioned perfectly to support the others. This was not the arrangement of merchant vessels. This was a battle formation designed by people who understood war. The Vorthan attack wing opened fire at maximum range. Brilliant energy beams reached across space toward the Earth ships. For a moment, it looked like the human vessels would be destroyed before they could even respond. Then the Earth fleet returned fire. The space between the two fleets lit up like a star had exploded. But the light was not random. It was focused, controlled, and devastatingly accurate. Every Earth ship fired at exactly the same moment. Every shot found its target. 12 minutes later, all 50 Vorthan ships were debris floating in space. The Earth fleet had not moved. Not even one ship had been damaged? Impossible, Dalsu whispered. Admiral Jin-Ho's voice came through the communications again, still perfectly calm. Vorthan Commander, that was your warning shot. You now have 31 minutes to withdraw from this system. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Commander Vexhai's voice returned, but now it was filled with rage instead of amusement. You destroyed 50 of my ships. What weapons are those? Standard Earth Navy weapons, Admiral Jin-Ho replied. Nothing special. You have 31 minutes. Hyunwoo looked around the command center. Everyone was staring at the display in shock. The Vorthans, who had seemed unstoppable, had just lost 50 ships without damaging a single Earth vessel. Who are these people? Sora asked quietly. I don't know, Hyunwoo replied, but I don't think Earth is what we thought it was. On the display, the remaining Vorthan fleet was moving into a new formation. They were preparing for a full attack. But for the first time since the invasion began, Hyunwoo felt something he had not felt in days. Hope. The morning sky over Kepler 442b burned with an unnatural red color. Hyunwoo Kim stood at the window of the Federation embassy, watching smoke rise from the distant hills. The peaceful farming colony that had been his home for 3 years was dying. Sir, we have another report, called Taemin Lee from his communication station. The young officer's hand shook as he read the message. The eastern settlements are gone. All of them. Hyunwoo closed his eyes and took a deep breath. As the Federation ambassador to this colony world, he had always believed his biggest problems would be trade disputes and farming permits. Now 12 million innocent people looked to him for salvation he could not provide. How many ships do they have? Hyunwoo asked. Our scouts counted over 200 Vorthon warships before they were destroyed, Taemin replied. His young face was pale with fear. They have massive battle cruisers, sir. Nothing like we've ever seen. The Vorthan Empire had appeared at the edge of Federation space 6 months ago. They were a warrior race that lived for conquest and battle. Their ships were fast, their weapons were powerful, and they showed no mercy to anyone who stood in their way. Colony after colony had fallen to their advance. Each time they took the survivors as slaves and burned everything else. What about our defense fleet? Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew the answer. The Federation sent 3 patrol ships, Taemin said quietly. The Vorthons destroyed them in less than 10 minutes. Hyunwoo looked around the embassy. Sora Park, the colony's chief medical officer, was setting up emergency medical stations in the main hall. Her calm efficiency impressed him, even as explosions thundered in the distance. She had been working for 18 hours straight, preparing for the wounded that would soon flood the building. "Dr. Park?" Hyun-woo called. "How many people can we evacuate?" Sora looked up from her medical supplies. Her usually neat hair was messy, and exhaustion showed in her dark eyes. "The transport ships can maybe take 50,000 people, but sir, we have 12 million colonists on this world." The math was simple and terrible. Most of the people on Kepler 4M42b were going to die. "Sir," Taemin's voice cracked with panic. "Long-range sensors show the main Vorthon fleet is moving toward the capital city. They'll be here in 8 hours. 8 hours. Hyun-woo felt the weight of 12 million lives pressing down on his shoulders. The Federation had protocols for situations like this, but those protocols assumed there would be time for proper evacuation. They assumed rescue fleets would arrive. They assumed many things that were not true today. "Has the Federation responded to our distress calls?" Hyun-woo asked. "Yes, sir," Taemin replied. "They're sending 3 rescue fleets. When will they arrive?" Taemin checked his screen and his face went even paler. "The fastest fleet will arrive in 4 days, sir." 4 days. The Vorthons would be finished with their slaughter long before then. Hyun-woo walked to the large map display showing the colony world. Red markers showed where Vorthon forces had already landed. Blue markers showed Federation positions. There were far too many red markers and far too few blue ones. "Sir," said a new voice. Captain Dalsu Choi of the Colony Defense Force entered the embassy. His uniform was torn and dirty, and a bandage covered a cut on his forehead. "We've lost contact with all outer settlements. The Vorthons are killing everyone, men, women, children. They don't care." "How long can the capital hold?" Hyun-woo asked. Dalsu shook his head. "Maybe 6 hours once they arrive. Our weapons can't even scratch their armor. It's like throwing rocks at a battleship." Sora finished setting up another medical station and joined them at the map. "The children," she said quietly. "The schools are full of children. They don't understand what's happening." Hyun-woo stared at the map. Somewhere in the red zones, families were running for their lives. Somewhere, children were crying for parents who would never come home, and he was supposed to save them all with 50,000 evacuation spots and no military support. "Sir," Taemin said hesitantly, "I have an idea, but you won't like it. Tell me. What if we contacted Earth?" The room went quiet. Earth was barely a member of the Federation. They had joined only recently, and were considered primitive by most Federation standards. Their technology was old, their ships were small, and their military was considered a joke by Federation military analysts. "Earth?" Dalsu laughed bitterly. "What can Earth do? They're farmers and miners. They don't even have a real space fleet." "They have ships," Taemin said quietly. "And they're close. Only 6 hours away at maximum hyperspace speed." 6 hours, Sora repeated thoughtfully. "That's before the Vorthons reach the capital." Hyun-woo considered it. Earth was indeed close to their position, but what could they possibly do against the Vorthon war machine? Federation intelligence reports described Earth as a peaceful agricultural world, with some basic space travel capability. They grew food and mined minerals for the Federation, but they were not warriors. Still, 6 hours was better than 4 days. "The Federation Council will not approve contact with Earth for military assistance," Hyun-woo said. "Sir," Taemin said urgently, "with respect, the Federation Council is not here watching children die." A massive explosion shook the building. Through the windows, they could see fires burning in the northern districts. The Vorthons were getting closer. "Do it," Hyun-woo said suddenly. "Send the distress signal to Earth." Taemin's fingers flew over his communication panel. "What should I tell them?" "Tell them we need immediate evacuation assistance. Tell them we have 12 million civilians and hostile forces approaching. Tell them," Hyun-woo paused. "Tell them people are dying and we need help." The message went out on all emergency frequencies. For several minutes there was only static in response. Then a calm voice came through the speakers. "This is Earth System Defense Command. We have received your distress call. Please confirm. You are requesting immediate evacuation assistance for 12 million civilians under hostile attack." "Confirmed," Taemin replied. "Hostile forces will reach our position in approximately 7 hours. Understood. Earth Fleet is responding. Estimated arrival time 6 hours. Prepare landing zones for mass evacuation." Earth Fleet out, the communication ended. Everyone in the room stared at each other. "Earth Fleet?" Dalsu asked. "I didn't know Earth had a fleet." Before anyone could answer, a new voice cut through the emergency frequencies. It was cold and full of cruel amusement. "This is Commander Vexhai of the Vorthan Empire. We have intercepted your pathetic distress call to Earth. How amusing. You call upon farmers and miners to save you?" The alien voice laughed harshly. "Let the primitives come. We will add Earth's children to our slave pits when this is finished. Your colony dies today and your saviors will die tomorrow." The transmission ended, leaving them in terrible silence. "Maybe we made a mistake," Dalsu said quietly. "No," Sora said firmly. "At least we tried. At least someone is coming." Hyunwoo looked out at the burning sky. 6 hours until Earth arrived. 7 hours until the Vorthons reached the capital. It would be close, but maybe, just maybe, they could save some lives. He had no idea that his desperate call for help was about to change everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. Outside, the sky continued to burn red, and in the distance death was coming fast. The evacuation was chaos, but it was organized chaos. Hyunwoo Kim watched from the embassy roof as millions of people moved toward the landing zones the Earth fleet had designated. Transport ships shuttled back and forth between the surface and the massive Earth vessels waiting in orbit. "How are they moving so many people so fast?" Sora Park asked. She stood beside him, watching civilian transports that were 3 times larger than anything in the Federation fleet. "Look at those ships," Dalsu Choi said, pointing at the sky. "Those aren't cargo vessels. Those are purpose-built evacuation ships. Earth came prepared for this." Taemin Lee's voice crackled through their communicators. "Ambassador Admiral Jin Ho is requesting to meet with you personally. He's sending a shuttle." 10 minutes later, Hyunwoo found himself aboard an Earth military shuttle, flying toward the flagship of the Earth fleet. The shuttle's interior was nothing like Federation designs. Everything was built for function over comfort, and the technology looked both advanced and battle-tested. The pilot was a young woman in Earth military uniform. "First time on an Earth vessel, sir?" she asked politely. "Yes," Hyunwoo replied. "I have to ask, what exactly is Earth?" "Our intelligence report said you were a farming world." The pilot smiled. "We do have farms, sir, but we have other things, too." The flagship was even more impressive up close. The ESS Indomitable was massive, with weapons that looked designed to fight enemies much more dangerous than the Vorthons. As they approached the docking bay, Hyunwoo could see Earth Marines in full combat armor moving with military precision. Admiral Jin Ho Choi met him at the airlock. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. His uniform was simple but well made, and he carried himself like someone who had commanded ships in many battles. "Ambassador Kim," the admiral said, offering his hand. "I'm sorry we couldn't arrive sooner." "Admiral, I have to ask directly. What is Earth? Your fleet, your ships, your capabilities. None of this matches what Federation intelligence told us." Jinho led him through corridors filled with busy crew members. "What did Federation intelligence tell you about us?" "That Earth was a peaceful agricultural world with basic space travel. That you grew food and mined minerals. That your military was essentially non-existent." "All of that is true," Jinho replied, "but it's not complete." They entered the Admiral's command center and Hyunwoo stopped in amazement. The room was filled with tactical displays showing not just this star system, but dozens of others. Officers monitored communication channels, tracked ship movements, and coordinated what looked like a massive military operation. "Sit down, Ambassador," Jin Ho said. "It's time you learned the truth about Earth." A woman in intelligence officer uniform approached them. "Admiral, this is Commander Hye-Jin Choi, my daughter and our fleet intelligence officer." Hye-Jin was younger than her father but had the same sharp eyes. "Ambassador, how much do you know about the history of this galaxy?" "Standard Federation history. The various races developed space travel, formed the Federation for trade and mutual protection, explored new worlds." "That's the official history," Hye-Jin said. "But it's not complete." "Show him the maps, father." Jinho activated a holographic display. It showed the galaxy, but not as Hyunwoo had ever seen it. Large sections were marked in red. "These are dead zones," Jinho explained. "Areas where entire civilizations once lived, but which are now empty space. The Federation knows about them, but has no explanation for what happened." "We do," Hye-Jin added. "Earth discovered the truth about 300 years ago when we found the first ruins." Another officer approached. "Admiral, this is Dr. Yoonji Lim, our xenoarchaeologist." Dr. Lim was a small woman with intense eyes. "Ambassador, Have you ever wondered why there are so many habitable worlds in the galaxy but so few old civilizations? Why most races achieved spaceflight within the last few thousand years? I never thought about it, Hyunwoo admitted. Because something has been killing them, Dr. Lim said simply. We call them the Devourers. They sweep through the galaxy every few thousand years and destroy everything. The races that survive are the ones that rebuild after they pass. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said. Something that powerful would be known. The Federation would have records. The Federation is very young, Jinho said. Earth is older. Much older. We've been fighting the Devourers for 400 years. Fighting them? A new voice spoke from behind them. Every day for 4 centuries. Hyunwoo turned to see a man in different uniform than the others. His armor was scarred, his face was weathered, and his eyes held a hardness that spoke of battles beyond imagination. This is Colonel Dongwook Han, commander of Earth's Marine Forces, Jinho said. He's fought in more battles against the Devourers than any living person. Dongwook sat down heavily. Ambassador, every person on Earth lives their entire life knowing that somewhere in the dark, things exist that want to destroy all life in the galaxy. Every child is trained to fight. Every adult serves in the military. Every decision our government makes is about the war against the Devourers. But you seem so peaceful, Hyunwoo protested. Your people who come to Federation worlds are farmers and traders. They are, Jinho agreed. But they're also retired military. After 20 years of fighting the Devourers, Earth citizens earn the right to live peacefully. Many choose to settle on quiet worlds in Federation space. Hyejin activated another display. Earth has been watching this sector for months. We knew the Vorthons were running from something. We knew it was only a matter of time before the Devourers followed. The Vorthons are running? Hyunwoo asked. Of course, Dongwook said. The Vorthons aren't conquerors. They're refugees. Their entire empire is fleeing from the Devourers. They attack Federation worlds because they need resources and new places to hide. But they're so violent, so aggressive. Fear makes people desperate, Jinho said. The Vorthons have seen their worlds die. They'll do anything to survive. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Hyejin checked her displays and her face went pale. Admiral, the remaining Vorthon fleet is attacking. All ships coming straight at us. Yeah, how many? Jinho asked calmly. 150 ships, sir. Everything they have left. Jinho stood up. Admiral, to all ships. Battle stations. Prepare for full engagement. Through the command center's windows, they could see the Vorthon fleet approaching. 150 warships in attack formation, their weapons charging for what they hoped would be a decisive battle. Admiral, Hyunwoo said urgently, they have you outnumbered 6-1. No, Ambassador, Jinho replied. They're outnumbered by us. We have 800 ships crewed by people who have spent their entire lives learning to fight enemies that make the Vorthons look like children. The battle began with the Vorthons firing everything they had. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the two fleets. For a moment, it looked like the Earth ships would be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Then the Earth fleet responded. And Hyunwoo realized he had been thinking about this all wrong. The Earth ships did not fight like Federation vessels, trading shots and maneuvering for advantage. They fought like a single organism, every ship perfectly coordinated with every other ship. Their weapons fired in patterns that created intersecting fields of death. Their movements were so precise they seemed to be dancing, but it was not a dance. It was the art of war perfected by 4 centuries of practice. 18 minutes later, the last Vorthon ship exploded. Not a single Earth vessel had been destroyed. Admiral Jinho's voice was calm as always when he spoke to the fleet. All ships, excellent work. Begin search and rescue operations for Vorthon survivors. You're rescuing them? Hyunwoo asked in amazement. Of course, Jinho replied. They're not our enemies. They're refugees running from our real enemy. As if summoned by his words, Hyejin's sensors began screaming warnings. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting massive hyperspace signatures. Something very large is approaching this system. Jinho's calm expression changed for the first time. How large? Unknown, sir. The signatures are bigger than anything in our databases. Dr. Lim looked up from her research station. Admiral, the hyperspace distortion pattern matches Devourer technology. The command center went completely silent. How long until they arrive? Jinho asked quietly. 6 hours, sir. Jinho looked at Hyunwoo. Ambassador, I need to ask you to contact your government immediately. The Federation needs to evacuate this entire sector, not just this world. This entire region of space. Why? Hyunwoo asked, though he was afraid he already knew. Because, Jinho said grimly, the Devourers are coming. The evacuation of Kepler 442b was complete within 4 hours. 12 million colonists were safely aboard Earth transport ships, but Hyunwoo Kim felt no relief. Admiral Jinho Choi's words kept echoing in his mind. The Devourers are coming. He stood in the command center of the ESS Indomitable, watching the tactical display with growing horror. The hyperspace signatures approaching the system were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were massive beyond comprehension. How big are those ships? He asked Dr. Yoon-ji Lim, who was studying the sensor readings. We're not sure they're ships, she replied quietly. They might be something else entirely. Commander Hyejin Choi looked up from her intelligence station. Ambassador, we need to discuss what's about to happen. The Federation must understand what they're facing. A new figure entered the command center. He was tall and thin with pale skin and strange scars on his arms. His uniform was different from the others, marked with symbols that seemed to hurt to look at. This is Dr. Sungmin Baek, Admiral Jinho said. He's our foremost expert on Devourer technology and behavior. Dr. Baek's voice was soft but carried a weight that made everyone listen. Ambassador, what I'm about to tell you will be difficult to believe. The Devourers are not like anything else in the galaxy. They are not a species that builds ships and fights wars. They are something far worse. What are they? Hyunwoo asked. We're not entirely sure. They appear to be a form of collective consciousness that exists partially in normal space and partially in dimensions we cannot fully understand. They create biomechanical constructs that look like ships but which are actually extensions of their collective mind. You mean they're not individuals? No, Dr. Beck replied. They are one entity spread across thousands of bioships. When you fight one, you fight them all. They learn from every battle, adapt to every weapon, and they never make the same mistake twice. Hyejin activated a holographic display showing recordings from previous battles. These are from Earth's first encounter with the Devourers 400 years ago. They destroyed 17 human colonies before we learned how to fight them. The images were horrifying. Massive organic ships that looked more like living creatures than machines. They tore through human defenses like they were made of paper. But the worst part was what happened to the worlds they conquered. They don't just destroy, Dr. Beck explained. They consume. Every form of life, every piece of technology, every bit of useful material. They strip worlds down to bare rock and add everything to their collective mass. How has Earth survived fighting them for 400 years? Hyunwoo asked. Colonel Dongwook Han spoke from where he was cleaning his weapons. By becoming something they didn't expect. They thought humans would be easy prey like most species. Instead, we became the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. What do you mean? The Devourers consume civilizations that build cities, create art, live in peace, Dongwook explained. But humans stopped doing those things. Every human city is also a fortress. Every human artist is also a warrior. Every human scientist also develops weapons. We made our entire species into a weapon pointed at them. Admiral Jinho nodded. It worked mostly. We've been holding them back for centuries. But each time they return, they're stronger. They learn from every battle and their bioships become more powerful. Sir, called Captain Mi Young-yoon from her station, long-range scouts are reporting visual contact with the approaching force. Put it on the main screen, Jinho ordered. The display showed empty space, then something that made everyone in the command center go silent. A bioship was approaching the system, but it was not like the ones in the historical records. This thing was the size of a small moon. Its surface covered in organic weapons that pulsed with dark energy. Just one ship? Hyunwoo asked hopefully. That's just the first one, Captain Mi Young replied. Sensors are tracking 46 more behind it. Dr. Beck studied the readings and his face went pale. Admiral, these aren't normal Devourer bioships. Look at the energy signatures. Jinho examined the data and his expression became grim. Harvester class. I was hoping we'd never see these again. What's a harvester class? Hyunwoo asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. The largest type of Devourer bioship, Dr. Beck explained. They're designed to strip entire star systems of life. We've only encountered them 3 times in 400 years. Each time Earth lost over 100 ships, destroying just one. And there are 47 of them coming here? Yes, Jinho said quietly. This isn't just a raid or an exploration. This is a full harvester assault. They're planning to consume this entire region of the galaxy. Captain Woo Jin Park entered the command center. He commanded Earth's most advanced stealth ship and he looked exhausted. Admiral, I just returned from deep reconnaissance. The Devourers have a full fleet behind those harvesters. Over 3,000 bioships of various classes. And sir? He paused, struggling to find words. They have something new. Something I've never seen before. Show me. Jin-Ho ordered. Woo Jin activated a holographic recording from his stealth ship. It showed the Devourer fleet approaching. But in the center was something that defied description. It was massive beyond the harvesters. Its surface writhing with organic technology that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. We're calling it a Nexus class, Woo Jin said. It appears to be some kind of command ship, but it's generating energy readings that are off our charts. Dr. Bayek stared at the recording in horror. That's not just a command ship. It's a breeding facility. They're planning to establish a permanent base in this region. If they succeed, they'll be able to create new bioships faster than we can destroy them. The magnitude of the threat was becoming clear. This was not just an attack on one colony world. This was the beginning of a campaign to consume an entire section of the galaxy. Admiral, Heejin said urgently, 3 Federation fleets are approaching our position. They're responding to Ambassador Kim's distress call. How many ships? Jin-Ho asked. Approximately 90 vessels, sir. On the display, they could see the Federation fleets moving to intercept the leading Devourer bioships. The Federation commanders probably thought they were facing some new alien threat that could be defeated with standard tactics. We have to warn them, Hyun-Woo said. They don't know what they're facing. Federation fleets, this is Admiral Jin-Ho Choi of Earth Forces. Jin-Ho broadcast on all frequencies. You are approaching extremely hostile forces. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Withdraw immediately. Earth vessel, came the reply from the Federation fleet commander. This is Admiral Telmar of the Federation 3rd Fleet. We are responding to a colonial emergency. Stand down and allow us to handle this situation. Admiral Telmar, you do not understand what you're facing. These are not conventional enemies. Your weapons will not be effective. Earth vessel, your assistance is not required. Federation forces will handle this threat. Jin-Ho looked at his officers with resignation. They won't listen. Can we stop them? Hyun-Woo asked. Not without starting a war with the Federation, Jin-Ho replied. We can only watch and hope some of them survive to carry word back to the Federation Council. On the tactical display, the 3 Federation fleets arranged themselves in standard battle formation and approached the lead Devourer bioship. 90 Federation vessels against one enemy ship that was the size of a small moon. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, there was nothing left of the Federation fleets but debris and radiation signatures. The Devourer bioship had not even slowed down. Signal Earth Command. Admiral Jin-Ho said quietly. Full priority Alpha transmission. Request immediate deployment of the Annihilation Protocol, sir? Captain Mi-young asked. Are you sure? The Devourers have 47 Harvester-class bioships and a Nexus-class breeding facility. If they establish a foothold in Federation space, they'll consume hundreds of worlds before we can stop them. Jin-Ho looked at Hyun-Woo. Ambassador, you asked what Earth is. Now you're about to see. When humanity faces extinction, we become something that even the Devourers fear. What's the Annihilation Protocol? Hyun-Woo asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. Something we hoped we'd never have to use again, Jin-Ho replied. The largest military force Earth has ever assembled. Ships and weapons designed for one purpose, the complete destruction of the Devourers. How long until they arrive? 6 hours, Jin-Ho said. The same amount of time until the main Devourer fleet reaches this system. Hyun-Woo looked at the tactical display, where 47 moon-sized bioships were approaching with over 3,000 smaller vessels behind them. In 6 hours, this system would become the site of a battle between humanity and something that wanted to consume all life in the galaxy. What are our chances? He asked quietly. Jin-Ho was silent for a long moment. Then he said, We'll find out. The hyperspace storm that announced Earth's arrival was unlike anything Hyun-Woo Kim had ever witnessed. Space itself seemed to tear apart as thousands of ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. But these were not the 800 vessels of Admiral Jin-Ho's fleet. This was something else entirely. How many ships? Hyun-Woo asked, staring at the tactical display in amazement. 12,000. 437 vessels, reported Commander Heejin Choi. Her voice was filled with a mixture of awe and relief. It's the entire combined fleet. At the center of the formation was a ship so massive it dwarfed even the Devourer Harvester-class bioships. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in weapons that seemed to bend light around them. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with an energy that made them difficult to look at directly. "That's the ESS Annihilation," Admiral Jinho said quietly. "The most powerful warship ever built by any species in the galaxy." A new voice came through the communication system, and everyone in the command center stood at attention. It carried absolute authority and the weight of 400 years of war. "This is Grand Admiral Il-sung Yu of the Earth System's Combined Fleet. All vessels, prepare for Annihilation Protocol engagement." Admiral Jin-ho report. "Sir, we have 47 Harvester-class bioships approaching with over 3,000 support vessels. They have a Nexus-class breeding facility at the center of their formation." "Understood. We are prepared for full engagement. All civilian vessels withdraw to minimum safe distance. This is going to get very dangerous very quickly." Hyun-woo looked around the command center. The Earth officers were working with calm efficiency, but he could see the tension in their faces. Even with 12,000 ships, this was going to be the battle of their lives. "Admiral Jinho," he said, "I need to understand. How did Earth build a fleet like this? How did you become so powerful without anyone in the Federation knowing?" Jinho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Show him." Dr. Yoonji Lim activated a holographic display showing the history of Earth's war against the Devourers. 400 years ago, Earth was a peaceful world much like the Federation describes. We had cities, art, culture. We were exploring space and meeting other species. Then the Devourers found us, Colonel Dongwoo Khan added grimly. They destroyed 17 of our colonies in the first year. Billions of humans died. Our fleets were useless against them. But humanity had one advantage, Dr. Lim continued. We learn from our mistakes and we never give up. After that first terrible year, Earth's entire civilization changed. Every resource, every person, every moment of every day became dedicated to one goal: survival. We studied the Devourers, Dr. Sungmin Bayek said. We learned how they think, how they fight, how they breed. We developed weapons specifically designed to kill them. We trained soldiers who could match their coordination and exceed their ruthlessness. More importantly, Jinho added, we built a network. Every Earth colony, every trading post, every diplomatic mission was also a military outpost. We spread through the galaxy quietly, watching for signs of the Devourers preparing for their return. The Federation never knew because we never wanted them to know. Colonel Dongwook said, peaceful civilizations are happier when they don't have to think about the things that hunt in the dark. We let the Federation believe Earth was harmless so they could continue being innocent. A new figure entered the command center, and everyone turned to look. She was small and young, but her eyes held power that made the air around her seem to vibrate. This is Commander Nayoung Seo, Admiral Jinho said. She leads our Sci-War division. Commander Nayoung nodded to Hyunwoo. Ambassador, what you're about to see will be difficult to understand. The Devourers don't just fight with ships and weapons. They fight with their minds, trying to control and corrupt everything they encounter. That's why we develop psychic warfare capabilities, she continued. Some humans can resist their mental attacks and even fight back. I command 300 psychic warriors who will engage the Devourers in mental combat while our ships fight them in normal space. This is incredible, Hyunwoo said. Why didn't Earth tell the Federation about any of this? Because the Federation would have wanted to help, Jinho replied. And help from peaceful species usually means they get consumed by the Devourers. We've learned it's better to fight this war alone. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship. On the tactical display, the first Devourer bioships were entering the outer edge of the star system. All ships, this is Grand Admiral Il-sung, came the voice from the Annihilation. Enemy contact confirmed. Begin Phase 1 deployment. The 12,000 Earth ships began moving into a formation that defied everything Hyunwoo knew about space combat. Instead of arranging themselves in lines or clusters, they formed a three-dimensional web that surrounded the entire star system. Every ship was positioned to support multiple others, creating overlapping fields of fire that had no blind spots. How is this possible? Hyunwoo asked. No commander could coordinate so many ships. Grand Admiral Il-sung isn't just any commander, Jinho replied with obvious respect. He's been fighting the Devourers for over 60 years. He knows their tactics better than they do. The leading Devourer bioships entered the system and immediately began their attack. Streams of dark energy lashed out from their organic weapons, striking at the Earth formation, but the Earth ships were already moving, flowing like water around the attacks while returning fire with weapons that tore holes in reality itself. What are those weapons? Hyunwoo asked as he watched Earth ships firing beams of energy that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions. Quantum disruptors, Dr. Beck replied. They attack the molecular bonds that hold the bioships together, very effective against organic targets. The battle expanded as more Devourer bioships entered the system. Soon, the entire region of space was filled with energy beams, explosions, and ships maneuvering at speeds that seemed impossible. But Hyunwoo began to notice something strange. The Earth ships aren't taking casualties, he observed. Not yet, Jinho agreed. But the Devourers are just testing our defenses. Wait until the Harvester-class ships engage. As if summoned by his words, the massive Harvester bioships entered the battle. Each one was the size of a moon, covered in weapons that could destroy planets. When they opened fire, space itself seemed to scream, but the Earth fleet was ready. The Annihilation moved forward, and Hyunwoo gasped as he saw its main weapon charge up. A beam of pure energy, wider than most ships, lanced out and struck the nearest Harvester. The bioship's organic armor, which had shrugged off the attacks of 3 Federation fleets, simply vaporized. Impossible, Hyunwoo breathed. Planet-killer weapons, Admiral Jinho said calmly. We learned long ago that you can't fight the Devourers with conventional weapons. The battle raged for hours. Slowly, inevitably, the Devourer bioships were being destroyed, but they were learning, adapting, becoming harder to kill with each passing moment. Sir, Commander Na Young reported, I'm detecting massive psychic activity from the Nexus-class breeding facility. They're trying to take control of our ships. Begin War operations, Jinho ordered. Commander Na Young closed her eyes and seemed to disappear, even though her body remained in the command center. Around the fleet, 300 other psychic warriors did the same, launching their minds into a battle that existed beyond normal space. The mental battle is the most dangerous part, Dr. Beck explained to Hyunwoo. If the Devourers gain control of even one of our ships, they can use it to spread their influence through our entire fleet. But the Earth psychic warriors held the line. The Devourer attempts at mental domination were turned back, and slowly the massive Nexus-class bioship began to show damage as its coordination systems were attacked from within. The end came suddenly. Grand Admiral Il-sung's voice rang out across all frequencies. All ships execute final protocol. Target the Nexus with everything we have. Every Earth ship in the system turned toward the massive breeding facility and fired simultaneously. The combined energy of 12,000 warships struck the Nexus-class bioship at the same moment. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the Devourer fleet was gone. Every bioship had been destroyed or had fled into hyperspace. The system was clear, but the cost was evident. Nearly 1,000 Earth ships had been destroyed and many others were heavily damaged. Victory, Admiral Jinho said quietly, but they'll be back. They always come back. Grand Admiral Il-sung's voice came through the communications one final time. Ambassador Kim, please open a channel to the Federation Council. It's time they learned the truth. An hour later, Hyunwoo found himself addressing the Federation Council via hyperspace communication. The council members listened in stunned silence as he explained what had happened and what Earth truly was. You're telling us, said the Federation president, that Earth has been fighting a galactic-level threat for 400 years without telling us? Yes, Hyunwoo replied, and they've been protecting all of us while doing it. Why reveal this now? Asked another council member. Grand Admiral Il-sung answered that question himself. Because the Devourers are getting stronger.